Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Logical Nonsense Podcast. Today, coming up, we've got the Ravens and how they now have Karl Malone at quarterback. We've got the Lions, Dan Campbell's gambling issues in the NFL. We've got two album reviews, Benny the Butcher's back, and Kota the Friend with lyrics to go, Volume 5. Coming up next, gotta stick around. Very excited to deliver this episode for you. It's gonna be loaded, jam packed with myself. And let's just hop right into this Chiefs Ravens game and just digest what happened. So I would like to point out before we get started, I am not a pat myself on the back kind of guy, but I'm going to for once. All year long has been preaching Lamar Jackson is a regular season quarterback and does not know how to perform when it comes to the playoffs. I was proven right yesterday. He did play okay. He performed okay, but compared to the rest of the season, I would say for the most part he was decently shut down. The Chiefs, I think strategically aren't getting enough credit. Yes, did the Ravens lose this game? We'll get to that. Yes, but the Chiefs were very strategic. They ran the clock down. The time of possession battle was so far in control of the Chiefs, especially in the first half. And when you can control the possession of the ball and the time, that's huge. They obviously were able to execute and scored when it matters. It was a low scoring game overall, 17-10. And I think that just shows the skill of both of these defenses. Steve Spagnuolo had a plan and it worked. And his plan was to allow the Ravens to go to their passing game. Their strength all year long has been their rushing game, getting Lamar involved, getting Gus Edwards involved, getting Justice Hill involved. And they weren't able to do that this game, and they struggled because of it. You could see that the Ravens offense wasn't clicking like it had all year long. They were forced to pass. And besides some big throws, they weren't really getting more than 20-yard throws for the most part. They were really stopped. And the biggest story and why they lost this game is the Ravens committed 5 15-yard penalties. When you are in an AFC championship game trying to go to the Super Bowl, those are mistakes you cannot afford. Look, Joe Burrow thrown out, just let the guys taunt, whatever. For now, that's the rule. Why even put that in question? Your team has already gotten what, 2 roughing the passer penalties at that point, and then I know they get at least one more. And the thing about it is, yes, do the Chiefs constantly get bailed out by the refs from time to time? Yes. I'm not even a Chiefs defender. Most of these calls were warranted. They were blatantly obvious. They were to the face or a helmet to helmet or way too high. Like, the rules have been set in place. There's nothing about those calls that were disputable, really. 5 15-yard penalties is unexcusable. I don't care what level you're at, especially at the NFL level. You should not be having 5 15-yard penalties, especially as a defense that is dominant as they are. Let the Chiefs, cook. I know you're trying to get to Patrick Mahomes, try to get in his head. That's not going to work, man. He was still able to get it to Travis Kelce all day long, which, we talked about, oh, the Ravens are going to be able to shut down Travis Kelce. He put it into a second gear. Thank God he has 2 weeks off because his body is probably hurting like a mofo right now. But 11 catches and over 100 yards and a touchdown. What a performance by him. We've seen him clutch up, and we always see Patrick Mahomes clutch up. They did what was needed, and that's the advantage the Chiefs had over this Ravens team in this game. They've been there before. They know they need to control the ball, and they need to get into the Ravens' head. And with all the penalties and errors and mental errors, you could see that was the case. You know, Lamar at the end there had a pretty bad interception, a pretty forced interception. And I'm not going to go back. it is based on the regular season. I understand that the MVP is based on the regular season, but to an extent, look at who was able to perform when the big stage was. When Lamar Jackson was on the big stage and he was in clutch time and they needed either a field goal or a touchdown, what happened? He threw a big pick. He folds in the big moments. He's 2 and 4 in playoff games. I like the man. I think he's very, very talented, and I think he's a great regular season artist, but every critic that has said he can't win in the postseason continues to get proven right, including myself, because he hasn't performed. And yet again, I mean, this is probably the best Ravens team he'll most likely be a part of because I don't know if he'll have the same defense. Things will change. We'll see if they can get back to it. And I saw this on ESPN, and I think this is a great comparison. It feels like Lamar Jackson and every quarterback in the AFC is kind of in the prime of it's a similar comparison. I got this from Ryan Clark. I'm not gonna claim this is my take, but it's something I wanna bring up. When Michael Jordan was at his prime, nobody could beat him, right, for a while to get into the finals. That's kinda where Patrick Mahomes is at. This is his 4th Super Bowl in 6 years, and the only person that was actually able to beat him in the AFC Championship game was Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and that's why he's so respected. The Ravens have come up short twice now, and they gotta go back to the drawing board and come with a better game plan. They just felt unprepared. It just felt like they didn't have a big game plan. It really felt like they just thought they were going to do what they wanted to do all season long because they've been so dominant this season. And that's what makes the tough teams tough in the postseason. They prepare for every game differently, and it felt like the Ravens didn't prepare differently. The Chiefs, they've been there before. They know everyone is different, and Spagnola, Reed, they were there. They were prepared, and props to them. Going to the Lions Niners game, you know, it sucks. I would have loved to see the Lions end up into the Super Bowl. What a turnaround for their franchise. 2 years ago, 3 and 13 and 1. Last year, 9 and 8, so close to making playoffs. This year, they finally win the division. They finally get to the playoffs. And now it's one of those things where you're like, holy shit, they can make the Super Bowl. Is this team legit? And first half, you go up 24-7. Your offense is looking just awesome. I mean, they're making all the right moves. The Niners miss a field goal early in the game, and they capitalize on a score. You got Jamison Williams playing great in this game, who, we're so used to seeing St. Brown do a majority of the work on the receiving side, and to see Jamison Williams also have a great game was huge for Jared Goff to have multiple options. And after half, the tides kind of turn. I'll get to the narrative of the missed 4th downs in 1 second, but, they score right away, and then in the 3rd, they go for it on 4th down. They don't get it, and the Niners score. The Lions get the ball back, they fumble, the Niners score again, and all of a sudden, it's a close game. I believe at that point, it would be 24-21. Then they go for it in the 4th with about 5 minutes left. They don't get it, and the Niners score again, and then it's kind of panic time for the Lions. They go for it again on 4th down. And this is all what I'm saying is going for it on 4th down. This is all on the other side of the 50. So 3 points. It changes the tide of the game for sure. Giving them at the ball at a different spot if they were to make the field goal. They're down however many points instead of, not getting any points. It's almost like a -3 even though you can't subtract off the scoreboard because they didn't go for that. Here's the one thing I will say about this, though. You live by the sword, you die by the sword, and Dan Campbell has remained consistent with that all year long. Dan Campbell, going into the postseason, was 17 for 20 on going for it in 4th down. It's something they've had a lot of success with, and analytically, this team has been successful with. Not even just the NFL, just this team. They've been able to convert on 4th down, and it's something he's obviously very comfortable with. I will say this, you do have to change your game plan to an extent in the championship. Yes, you should have your own identity. You know, a lot of people are among the kind of saying of like, you shouldn't change who your team is and what they do just because it's a special game. I disagree. The stakes are higher. People will change their game plans. You should change yours too. The identity of your team won't change. You still have the same playbook. You still have this. You can still change certain philosophies of certain things. And I think that aggressiveness, it hurt him. It definitely hurt him, and he's gonna get a lot of crap on it. But he took a gamble that many coaches aren't willing to take, and he was ballsy for it. And he's accepted that he, in his words, whatever screwed up. Not many coaches are able to. I respect Dan Campbell. I still think he's a very solid coach. Being able to turn around this team in the way they have. They have a bright future. There's a lot of young dudes on this team, and so to think that, I think he said, like, "You don't know if you'll ever get this chance again." I don't. I think this team's gonna be around for a decent amount of time. You know, you look at their team, they got Jahmyr Gibbs, they've got Aiden Hutchinson, Brian Burns, uh, Sam Laporta, David Montgomery's not too old, Jared Goff, I mean, he's so, but there's some youth on this team, and I think there is going to be built up hunger on this team. Expect this team to be back there. This is a solid Lions team, and I think what I'm trying to get to with the whole Dan Campbell is be aggressive, but be smart with when you're aggressive. The third quarter one, I'm honestly not that mad about. A lot of people were angry about the third quarter one. I can let that one go. It's the fourth quarter one that doesn't make sense to me when it's in crunch time. I feel like that is a complete momentum changer. If he gets that field goal, you're putting more pressure on the 49ers. Now they feel in control when you go for it and don't get it. That was the one I had an issue with. And so I think that's where you tweak your philosophy. You don't change it, you tweak it slightly, instead of going for it in the fourth quarter, and if we get it, we win. If we don't, we don't. That's where you tweak it and you say, this is still a game if I make it. You know, we have trust in our defense. And that's the thing too. The Lions have a solid defense. I know this 49ers offense is prolific, but trust your defense. Trust Aiden Hutchinson to get to the ball. I just think those are the tweaks you need to make in the postseason. And teams like the Niners and teams like the Chiefs, who have been there multiple times, they know that they need to make those tweaks in their philosophy, and that's why they ultimately came on top. The veterans won in this, and so often we forget how important it is to be in those situations. And the following year, if the Lions are in the same position, I would expect them to make those tweaks and possibly get in. I'm not like sitting here saying they're going to make the Super Bowl next year, but it is possible because they've been in those situations now that they learn and grow from that. On the 49ers side, that's a huge momentum going in a Super Bowl. Being able to come back from a 24-7 win, rally with your team. This team's been through a lot of adversity, and I said it last week, they've had to grind out some wins, and they're built tough. They've had to deal with some Debo injuries. They've dealt with injuries really all season long and have found ways to win. The Brock Purdy stuff, he's better than a game manager. I'm not sitting here, saying he's top 5 quarterback in the league, but he's better than a game manager. He makes throws when he needs to, and he was able to show off some of his legs that we haven't really seen him do. When it gets to this time, you need more than a game manager to get you to Super Bowl, and he proved that. I don't care what anybody says. He's still young. People have to remember that. He is in his second year. His second year. And we are expecting this man to be, oh, he's a game manager. It's like, okay, we need to give this man more credit just in general. I mean, there's a lot of talent around him, but besides Patrick Mahomes, you look at the other 3 teams and the talent around them as well. We're in the stage where people have talent around them. They wouldn't be to the conference championship if that wasn't the case. Christian McCaffrey played his ass off. And, I know the MVP is not about the postseason, but continually, I believe this man so deserves to be MVP. He just continues to he is the best player in the league right now in so many ways. Who's dominating at his position like he is? The I mean, Patrick Mahomes didn't even have the best quarterback season this year, and that's the guy you would be like, "Oh, he's dominating at QB." Lamar just lost, didn't look great, and I mean, I know it's about the regular season, but Christian McCaffrey is he's solid, man. So, Super Bowl preview will be next week. For now, we will go to our hip hop section. So if you're not into hip hop, feel free to log off. But if you want some music discovery, I've got some for you. We're gonna start off with Benny the Butcher's album, Everybody Can't Go. All right, starting with Everybody Can't Go by Benny the Butcher. Here we've got Jermaine's Graduation, great intro track, very laid back, smooth beat, brings in the heavy trap drums, later kind of into the beat a little bit, over kind of a light sounding piano, and I love it. Butcher has a cutthroat sounding voice, and he's very ferocious, and he makes it well known he's there, and I love that. He's also a storyteller, he has clever bars throughout, that make you kind of nod your head like, "Damn, he's got some bars," and, he's one of those guys that when he's rapping, he's just in his zone, and he's fun to watch just spit. He doesn't have a chorus on this, and you'll see that throughout the album, which I think he could benefit from a chorus, but, it's just a laid back beat with a man rapping. It's a great intro. I think it's a rapper head's dream, for sure. Braun, it's a kind of a triumphant sounding production song. It's got, I mean, it's dope. I love how he comes in on this cool cadence where he kind of raps and then he'll pause. It creates this really cool emphasis on his last spoken word, and it's very clever on his part. Sometimes that people try that and it doesn't work, and he made it work on this, and he kind of continues with that flow throughout. And I mean, he's just raw, rugged, but he's also fun and engaging, and I love how he's able to kind of swim through this song and this track. Big Dog, one of my favorites on the album. I think Benny changes the flow up a lot in this song, and it goes really hard. His flow switch ups are subtle, but they're super dope if you notice them, and I think he does a great job. And if you listen close to the production, you can hear the layers in it. You can hear the piano in the background, and it's kind of on cue. And it's not all the time, but he loops it in to where it brings this feeling of eeriness and just kind of a villainy feeling, and I love it. Benny's not a singer, and usually I don't like choruses like this, but the Big Dog is so catchy, and I love it. I think this is has big potential to be a hit on this album, and I think, you know, Wayne finally brings back some of those bars we know he's capable of, and he delivered on this feature, and I'm very excited that he delivered on this because, Benny the Butcher and Lil Wayne song is what the crowd deserved. The outro verse was kind of unnecessary in my opinion. It was just okay. It didn't add much to the song, and it wasn't honestly that great of a verse. But overall, love this song. I think it's a hit for sure. Then we're going to Everybody Can't Go featuring Kyle Banks. It's got that high pitched soul symphony in the background, and it brings a feeling of kind of uplift compared to that more eerie, villainous sound throughout the album you'll hear. Um, the trap drums kind of tie it together back into the album as a cohesive whole. And this Kyle Banks feature has me going like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Because he's very soulful and emotional. I just love this song. I think Butcher brings the bars again, and he's just very clever within this song as well. And I love this feature and the way they're able to coexist with one another on this track. TMVTL, this is probably my favorite track. It is very clever, especially from a production standpoint and lyrical standpoint. TMVTL, it's a scary sound and beat, and it brings a lot of emotions of fear to the listener, which sets the stage and the tone so perfectly for this song. He's got his cutthroat self, and it's such a amazing story. And TMVTL is, the first thing he keeps repeating this throughout the song, but the first thing you learn about a thug is truth is more valuable than love. And he really talks about, his stories with that. And the crazy part about this song is not only does he tell a story, but the production tells a story. You'll hear the production bring in more ramps up, and it brings this sense of hype up, when you're in a scary movie and they turn up the noise real loud. He does that, and he does it purposefully to bring more eeriness, to bring more scariness, and kinda tell this story of how he learned it on his own. There's just a lot to digest, and it's a song I continually wanna go back to just to learn more about. I think so greatly executed on this. Genius song on this album, and really, I think should be the theme of the album, the theme song of the album. After this album, though, sadly, I do think it kind of not steps down a ton, but I do think compared to the first 5 songs to the last 7, I wish I could have those first 5 songs again. We go to Back Again with Snoop, and this is a solid song. I'm not saying this is a bad song, but kind of got more of a West Coast style trap beat to it, which is interesting with Griselda. But you have the siren sounds, and then the beat drops, and he can freaking rap, man. His cadences and his flows and his bars are all on point on this song. I love his feature. The Snoop being brought in was interesting. I'm not opposed to it. I wasn't like, I didn't fuck heavy with it or anything, but I definitely think it was an interesting feature to have on the track. So, One Foot In featuring Stove God Cook. The bars are solid and the chorus, it's just all right for me. I think Stove God Cook's verse is solid. To me, this is a filler song. It was okay, and I think we've seen better from both. This is like the first miss on this album, Buffalo Kitchen Club. Um, it her feature, it's got a lot of attitude to it. It's got a lot of sass, and it's a distorted piano trap beat with many layers. It just feels very ratchet to me. The verse does, and I'm sure that's what he was trying to achieve. But um, I don't know. It just was kind of underwhelming from her, in my opinion. Like, yes, she brought attitude. Yes, she brought this tone, but after a while, it does get just kind of like I'm unengaged to it. Benny verse, he comes in hot, and then he kinda finds his flow, and I don't know, it's like an okay verse from him, it's not his best, it's just overall, I feel like this song was underwhelming, and it's probably just not my style or liking, so, Pillow Talk and Slander featuring Jadakiss and Babyface Ray, not my favorite sounds from Benny, he has a lot of, like, talking verses within this track, and then Babyface Ray, again, very whiny. Uh, I felt like it was okay, like, it could grow on me possibly, but for now, I'm not really messing with it, and the chorus really wasn't doing for it for me either. Jadakiss is about what you would expect, you know? It was very auto-tuney and deep voice, and I don't know, I just thought the song was just alright. It wasn't bad necessarily, it was okay. How to Rap, triumphant production again, and it's a rap heads song. I really mess heavy with it overall. It's just a loop and it doesn't have a ton of like volume to the song. Like it feels like there should be more, like there could be more beef to the song. And it feels at times a little repetitive, which is my biggest knock on the song. But overall, again, it's a solid track. So then we go to Griselda's Express. There's a lot of energy and passion, and it's kind of like your classic label song. Griselda is one of those record companies that, they've kind of made a name for themselves with West Side Gun and Stove God Cook and Conway the Machine and Stove God Cook, I don't believe actually. But Conway the Machine, West Side Gun, Rick Hyde, they're all on this. And honestly, the first verse I've ever heard from Rick Hyde, and he kinda sounds like Rick Ross feature to me. They've got their Griselda song in there. I can't hate on it too much. I think it's solid overall. I do find, like, the West Side Gun verse to be very, very annoying, like, so high pitched, so annoying, and, Conway honestly sounded kind of out of his element and very winded in this verse. I just think it's it could age on me, but for now, I wasn't a huge fan. Big Timers with Peasy. This is a good one. I think Peasy has a catchy flow, and Benny, he was doing his thing as well. It sounds more like a mainstream Benny flow to me, and I kinda like it, it's a little different, especially to end the album, and the whisper into the chorus goes kinda hard, on the classic trap beat. I like it overall. Peasy's feature was solid too, so now we go to our logic method of rating lyrics. Lyrically, it's pretty focused on kind of, gang related stuff as well as, growing up in a hard neighborhood, as well as, your classic Griselda topics such as cocaine. But there are some tracks like TMVTL and Everybody Can't Go where we see Benny really lyrically invest into those songs, and it really shows his ability if he wants to go down that realm to kind of spit and tell a story. And that's more of what I would like to see from him. I do think Butcher is more of your bar rapper. If you like clever bars rather than a clever story, this is the guy you want to go to. His bars definitely improve his rating as a rapper for me. Um, they're solid overall. There was storytelling, there was a lot of clever bars. I'm gonna give him a 7.1 out of 10. Going to on point production, the production matches Butcher's energy, very ferocious, very villainy, eerie, and, sometimes creepy or even scary at times, and it really told the story. I love the production choices on this. Um, it's got a lot to uncover. It's very dense, and there is a lot of diversity within it, the track list as well. A lot of heavy trap beats, and for some, I could see that getting repetitive. The good news is it's a 12-song trap list, and I think that really helped with it not being repetitive. So, um, I'm glad that the production was as good as it is. I'm giving it an 8.2 out of 10. Going to glorious flows, Benny kills the flows, man. His ability to flow switch up and be ferocious yet smooth is incredible. He's He's got a very strong suit of this, and, you know, this is something he's very smooth and solid and got some versatility in. One of the few things he actually does have versatility in. I don't mean to hate on Butcher, but he definitely is not super versatile in what he's able to do. Um, Immediate hits, there isn't a Johnny P's Caddy on this, there isn't that song where you're like, "Holy shit, this is a banger." But I think, you look at, Big Dog, that could be a hit. You look at, Everybody Can't Go, I think both of those have potential to be hits, and, you know, Griselda's not necessarily like your everyday hit maker though, but there's great tracks, if you're into what I would call more underground rap, more, rapper heads rap, this is an album for you, and, that's not what this rating is for, sadly. What I consider a hit, versus what you consider a hit is probably different, but in terms of this rating, it's more so like how is it gonna be perceived by everybody, not just a certain section of people, and so I'm gonna go 6.4 out of 10 is the lowest rating on there. And then content matter. Benny brings a lot to the table on this album, especially production, flow, bars. But I will say I felt like he had a very strong start and a very weak finish. And I think when we see that, it sucks because I hate to see the quality dwindle, especially such a quality rapper like Benny. Going to and then, through and through, I think this is a great album. I think this is probably one of the best albums we've gotten on the year, and, his pairing of production, flows, and energy are a trap listener's dream. I'm gonna go 7.8 out of 10 on the content matter, and this gives it an average score of 7.56. Going to our second album review, we have Lyrics to Go, Volume 5. On this one, we've got for those of you who are unaware of Lyrics to Go Volume 5, it's a concise list, by Kota the Friend. He's really the thought behind of it is to give you, storytelling and bars that are incredibly introspective, but concise and high quality. So that's definitely what he does on this. He delivers again. Going with Beijing, it's more of a slower melodic piano. Just about what you would expect with this series. You'll hear throughout the series kind of more lo-fi sounding beats. I would say more elevated than lo-fi a little bit. It's got that rap twist to it or hip hop twist to it, but it's a very vibey song. It's got a very enjoyable beat. The distorted futuristic singing that was brought into this song was interesting to me, something that I wasn't expecting from him to experiment on. It doesn't ruin it for me, I actually find it kind of enjoyable to listen to, but, then we go to Tulum. Hit Boy brings kind of a jazzy beat, and I think it delivers, and God, man, I swear Coda just continues to improve. His flow on this song is incredible. He is spitting. I mean, this is someone if you wanna hear just somebody just rap on a very easy beat to listen to, this is your man. This is I mean, he's so chill and mellow, but he if you listen to his lyrics, he's very introspective, and Tulum's a great one. Big Bear, very cool soundscape. I mean, he's so smooth in this song, smooth as butter, and in transitions through verse to verse is very clean, and it's so technically sound in this song as well. Then we go to Malone, probably one of my favorite on the album. It has a very R&B feel to it, and it's got this kind of lovey vibe to it, and I love it. I love seeing this side of him. It's kind of a mix between lo-fi and R&B, and I just mess with it heavily. I think his melodic rap is incredible and something we need to hear more. As a whole, I mean, Kota the Friend already has a raspy voice, but then he kind of even puts an exclamation point on it in this song, and it just works so well. So very, very, I don't know, I love this song, I love this track, and I think it's one of the best on the I guess this is a mixtape, even though this is more of an album than I swear a majority of rappers who claim they have an album is. So, then going to Backstage in Minneapolis reminds me of kind of a Vince Staples song on a lo-fi beat. The storytelling is incredible throughout this. He paints a beautiful picture, but continues to be vibey, and I love it. Going to Alabama Hills. Again, I mean, the storytelling on this is crazy as well. You continue to hear different perspectives and values, reflection, and continues on this song as well. Yuma, this is a more energetic song. You'll hear that in the production as well as his flows. I enjoy the university, the switch up for sure. Evergreen, this is a story about struggle. Kind of I don't know, it's a great self-reflection song. Kota's he's not doing the norm, and he's kinda just spitting and telling stories, and I give him props for not waning from that and being his true self. So, good for him on that. Vienna, with Static Selecta, another jazz pop beat with trap drums. He matches the energy of the beat and tells another story. I mean, this man's just flows are unreal on this as well. So Oregon, God, this one might be my favorite too. I mean, Lalon competes, but this one gives me Amine vibes. He speeds up the flow quite a bit. The guitar works really well in the back. It's just a head bopper. The chorus is catchy and it's very unique and it's very well executed. Vietnam, more of your traditional rap song, but we see that Coda's capable of that too, and I like that we're able to see that. So very cool soundscape, very cool flow, um, great storyteller. Again, Robbed Island, he kind of gives respect to his hip hops and the hip hop legends like Ye and Biggie in the beginning, and kind of shows his positive influence with life lessons throughout the song on this one as well. So going to our logic method of rating lyrics, beautiful storytelling, as I've continued to say and repeat myself throughout this, but beautiful storytelling, beautiful bars, beautiful self reflection. If you pay attention to his lyrics, which is hard low key because his soundscape's so good too, um, you'll learn a lot about his perspective and life lessons and morals taught. And I enjoy listening to lyrics on this. 8.8 out of 10 from me. On point production. You've got jazz, you've got lo-fi, you got pop, you got melodic guitar infused beats, diverse, layered. Love the soundscape. Very relaxing, very zen, calm, um, beautiful. Much different than what we're used to seeing in the hip hop world, and I give him mad props for that production choice. 8 out of 10 on this. Glorious flows, smooth like butter. Like I continue to say, we hear sped up flows, and then we hear flows where he's own in his own element, and he's got that mellow bar with his raspy voice, and then we have the R&B mixed in. I would love to hear more of that R&B melodic flow, as I thought that was beautiful, but his flows overall are solid. The short album doesn't really give him opportunity to be versatile in his flows as much. I did still hear versatility. I do think he's still a good flow person. I do think he could improve on trying to switch up his flows. And so I'll give him a 7.7 out of 10 on flows. Immediate hits. This isn't a hits album. Very similar to Everybody Can't Go. This isn't a hits album. This is a underground album. This is a not melancholy, a mellow, chill, everyday album. That's not really Kota the Friend style. He's not looking to make mainstream hits. He's just looking to rap, man. That's all he cares about. And so this is a vibe album. However, I think, the underground world can come to appreciate Oregon, Vietnam, and Milan. And for that, I will give it a 6.4 out of 10 on immediate hits. And then content matter. He delivered on this, and this might be my favorite out of the entire Lyrics to Go series. It's just so high quality all around, and there's a lot to unpack in just a short 27-minute track list. So very concise, very fun to listen to. Make sure to go listen to both of these albums. Both are great. This had an album score of 7.82 out of 10. Coming next week, we have a loaded one. We have a Super Bowl preview, and then we are going to have a special guest on to talk about some hip hop. Very excited to have him on. That'll be announced later this week. So thank you for everyone that was listening. Thank you for continuing to support my platform. Yeah, thank you.